All right, everybody. I have no idea if I'm doing this right, and I'm waiting for Mike to show up. So, um, in the meantime, I have to admit, I have to confess that this is my first blab. Oh, Mike will be back. If you can hear me, can somebody give me a little comment? Um, Yay! Thank you. Okay, so while we're waiting for Mike to get in, I stepped outside because I'm a loud blabber. I'm a loud talker. So, in the meantime, just to give you a little heads up, my name is Kristen Daukas, and I am the Director of Social Media Services at Atlantic WebWorks. And I'm also the Vice President of ConvergeSouth Conference, which is the little conference we have here down in the Southeast that was started by the fabulous Sue Polinsky. And she started this conference, if you don't know about Converge South, with the intent of making it kind of like a South by Southwest for the Southeast. And it started off as a blogging conference, and it kind of morphed over the past 10 years. And this year, one of the changes that we've made is to have a lab, because we find that people who really want to get started in things such as podcasting and web hosting, website building, and videos need that checklist. What do I do? So as soon as Mike shows up, I can give him a little bit of ribbing, because I came into contact with Mike because of my podcast, which I do for my parenting website, 10 to 20 Parenting. And Mike is, I will honestly say, he is my knight in shining armor, because every single time that I have a problem, Mike seems to be the one that answers my call. Mike's rebooting. Stupid technology. So what I'm going to be doing over the next few weeks is introducing people to the Converge South speakers. We have some amazing speakers. We always have great speakers. And one of the things I've always said is it's the best little conference that no one's ever heard of. I don't know why, because we're here in North Carolina, and up until last year, we had the conference over in Greensboro, and last year we moved it over to Wake Forest University. Our good friend and also one of our board members, Lisa Snedeker, who oversees marketing at the Wake Forest University School of Law, has always wanted to have it at Wake Forest. So we are at Wake Forest University on October 16th. We're being told, oh, never mind, Mike, you can read that, so I don't need to read it for everybody. October 16th, we have a VIP reception at Renolda House Museum of Art, and that is the night before. And if you are buying a ticket to Converge South, I highly recommend that you go ahead and get that VIP ticket, because the VIP party the night before is a blast. It's a great chance to get to know the other speakers as well, or get to know the speakers as well as the other attendees, people like me who put so much love and attention into the actual conference itself. It kind of feels like a wedding, you know. As soon as it ends, we turn around and start planning again. Not that many people plan weddings, but you get what I mean. So hopefully Mike will join us in a little bit and let us know what we can expect him to teach us in the podcasting lab. And I'm sure he'll probably give us a little bit of information that we can use now. I guarantee you I'm going to be picking his brain. So come on, Mike, get your internet, like sacrifice chicken or something up in there. We need to get you going. I'll just continue to blab, because I actually do a pretty good job at blabbing. So what else can you expect? Some of the other speakers, we have the fabulous Stephanie Carls coming in to do the YouTube, and video lab. And if you don't know Stephanie, you will know her very soon, because I'm going to be doing a blab with her. So it looks like maybe Mike is, let's see, let's try this one more time. And dum-da-dum. All right. I can't wait to ask Mike if he's going to bring his banjo with him. I'm trying to click you in here, Mike, but it's not working. We're having internet web issues. I don't like web issues. It's like a car. I want to get in it and I want to go, and that's it. Yes, I will throw a link to the conference right here. It's www, which, you don't have to always get a good time telling my mom that, you don't have to say www, Mom. ConvergeSouth gmail.com. And I'm going to put my email here because if you attend my Blab, I'll give you a discount code because I'm just cool that way. So you can email me at kdaukas@gmail.com. Don't spam me or I will do awful things. Mike, I'm not getting you in here. So I'm going to X you out. Hopefully we have some very patient folks here. Okay, so we have Stephanie Carls will be doing the video, and she is, if you've never checked out her YouTube channel, you absolutely should because she is amazing at making videos. She actually pretty much made her name on with her videos, and every time I watch her videos, I learn something new. She's a brand ambassador for many great companies, and she just does a fabulous job. So I'm sure you'll learn a lot from that. The other lab that we're going to be hosting is a web lab, a web design lab, and that is going to be for focus on alternatives beyond, there we go, for alternatives other than WordPress. And we're going to cover Squarespace. We have one person that'll do Squarespace and one person that'll do Tumblr. Some of the other topics that we'll be covering throughout the conference and breakout sessions are SEO, because nobody likes SEO. Some people do, but not me. And the other, let's see, we've got social media. We've got a couple of folks for social media, and we have content because as I always tell people, if you don't have good content, I don't even know why you're here. So we'll talk about that. And all right, let's try this one more time. Dun, dun, dun.
There we go. Well, I'm going to come back in on the computer, but I did finally get it to come up on the phone.
Well, see, the funny thing is, because this is my first real Blab that I was like, looked at my phone and I went, I'm just going to go to my computer. So, you know what? It's the Friday before a holiday, so maybe the interwebs are checking out early too. So, all right. Well, I've already done a bunch of blabbing. So if you're ready, let's just get right into it. Introduce yourself. For those who don't know you, I mean.
Well, I'm Mike Dell, and yeah. Well, some people do. I think Jim Colson is in the chat there. He knows me. But yeah, I'll be doing the podcasting lab at the ConvergeSouth Conference. I'm looking forward to it. I've never been to North Carolina.
Here's a view of North Carolina today. See, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful last hurrah to summer, but I sadly have to say I think it's not going to be the greatest outdoors type weekend. Oh well, you take what you get.
Yeah.
It'll make
it is what it is.
to not labor. That's what it'll do. So
see, I'm trying to get the computer going here because I much rather do
we'll
the computer.
multitask here then. So here, true confession. Yeah. Admit it. Every time you see my email pop up in your mailbox, do you just cringe and go, "Oh God, here she comes again"?
No. I have some people that are that way, but so far you're not.
So far, y'all hear that keyword. So far, so
right.
All right. So a lot of people are under the premise that podcasting is new, and it's not new. It's been around the block a really long time. However, we can thank shows like Serial, etc., for really throwing it into the limelight. From your point of view, and being behind Raw Voice and your podcast, etc., how much has it exploded in numbers wise over the past year? No?
Not really. Listenership, I'm sure, has gone up, but the number of podcasts has been steadily growing for the last 10 years, at least.
So no huge surge in the past year? Really?
No, I mean, there's a bit, there's a lot of copycatters out there. There's a lot of shows that are coming up that want to be like, say, John Lee Dumas and his Entrepreneur on Fire show. There's a lot of entrepreneur shows that have popped up since him, trying to do the same format. And, it doesn't always work because, John does what he does, and he's the best at what he does because he does his own thing. And that's the thing with podcasting is you don't want to copy other podcasters. You want to be original. like these storytelling podcasts. Since Serial come out, there's a bunch more of those coming out. Most of them are pretty good that I've seen. So it's, but as far as this big surge of podcasting, that's a myth.
What, okay, so we pretty much know that the people that are going to be sitting in your lab at ConvergeSouth are going to be newbies. I still consider myself a newbie. Obviously, I've got 30 shows under my belt, even though iTunes continues to try and lose my 30 shows. But, I'm still quite confused about a lot of it. I mean, there's so many working parts. And I know that if I can kind of get a checklist, if you will, which I think is something that you're going to provide for everybody, it would help. I've got another podcast that I want to start, and I'm just, kind of reluctant to do it right now until I get the 10 to 21 kind of nailed down.
Right. It's never really great. Oh, geez, now I've got two of me on the screen. Hang on, let me come. I'll be right back. I promise.
I think the only thing worse than my voice is my voice reverberating. So, let's see. All right, so we're going to get to the juicy stuff, I promise.
There we go.
Okay. Oh, now he's bringing out the big guns.
Yeah, now I got to shut the phone up.
Gosh, you sound so great.
It is working, so we're in business.
All right, that's awesome. Okay, so anyways, let's get back to business on a Friday at lunchtime. This is what I do for my lunch hour, just so you know. All you peoples out there, instead of eating, I'm educating.
There you go. Oh, I went to lunch early today because of this, so I won't miss a meal, darn it.
All right. Hey, and just as a reminder for those of you that are joining on, hey, we got somebody from Thailand. I will give you a discount code because you're cool and you're here with me and Mike. So send me an email, look through the comment section, find my email, shoot it over to me, and I'll get you a discount code. If you're in North Carolina or if you want to come into North Carolina, fabulous conference all day long on the October 16th with a VIP party the night before. That is going to be so much fun. And are you bringing your banjo?
Probably not. They don't travel well.
You're coming to banjo country, right?
Oh, yeah, of course.
All right. So anyways, back to it. So you've got 2 hours to teach people, or at least get them on the right path.
Sure. The podcasting, a lot of what podcasting is, a lot of people think it's really hard. They picture, these professional mics and the big, big studio with a glass window and a engineer behind the glass and all that. No, all you need to podcast, basic minimum is a phone, an iPhone, or an Android. You can totally podcast with just that, but you want your audio quality to be better, and setting up the RSS feed and the website and all that stuff can be a tad complicated, but the beauty of it is you set it once, forget about it.
Yeah.
And then you can concentrate on your content, which is the main point. Anyway, but what I plan on teaching is the basics. I'll have a little spiel at the beginning, the most non-geeky way of me explaining how podcasting works. And then we'll go into, what you need to record, the good enough, and then of course the some of the more fancy stuff. I don't know how my audio is sounding right now. I'm using this PR40 here, which usually sounds pretty good.
It sounds great. I'm sure it sounds better than my earbuds. And I'm kind of in that good enough camp right now, and I definitely want to get mine to the next level. I worry a little bit about, I'm sitting outside, so my nose is starting to itch. Pardon me. A little bit about some of the sound quality and my breathe, I'll go through and I'll edit out some of my breathing, but I don't want to get too involved in it because I don't want it to take forever. Deidre James, who is a podcaster, she's a former radio host here in North Carolina, has a fabulous podcast called My Details. And I know Deidre spends so much time editing, and it sounds fabulous. It's a beautiful sounding podcast, and she puts a lot of time and effort into it. I don't want to do that, though.
Yeah, and you don't necessarily have to. Now, some editing is good. Like when I do interviews, I'll try to tighten up the gaps in it. And, if somebody flubs up, whether it's usually me, but somebody flubs up, maybe I'll take that out and redo that question. But for the most part, I turn on the mic, I talk, I turn off the mic, I do a little bit of post-processing, and it's up.
And that's pretty much what I do. What are some of the like basic tips for somebody, like, let's just use me. I've got, and one of the things I discovered a few podcasts in, I was at first using my show intro, and what I stopped doing, and I'm doing this with my videos too, is I'm creating a short little teaser. So I do teaser, intro, and then the show. And then I have a closing, et cetera, on the end of it. And is that a kind of the way most people do it, or do they just go straight on in?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different ways of doing it. The rule of thumb I've always used is I want it to where when you download my podcast and you hit play on it, I want me to be the first thing you hear.
Right.
So I'll do a little intro. Usually it's just, this is the podcast help desk, number whatever, and they give the date, and then it goes into the intro, and then I do, another little intro there before I get into the topics of whatever the show is. But that can be as varied as anything else. Like if you watch a TV show, a lot of times these cop shows like NCIS or whatever, they'll have a little cold open segment, then they'll have their intro, and then they'll go right into where they left off on the intro segment. The pre, I guess what do they call it? A cold open.
Right.
Or like Saturday Night Live, they always have a little skit before they actually go through their intro.
And I think that's good because, like you said, and that's kind of what I discovered is, like, if I just go straight into it with my intro is not going to change. Or not my intro, but like my show intro, that's not going to change. So how do they discern between, podcast 2 and podcast 15? They can't. So that's why I started doing that intro. I'm looking at your setup behind you. Tell me a little bit about that, because one of the things I also worry about is what is it called? I'm sitting here just spacing out. Is it dead noise in a room? Like, I struggle sometimes where to record my podcast.
Yeah, you definitely want to pick a room that's carpeted. is usually a good choice. But that, it all depends on your mic technique and what equipment you have. Like, where I'm set up here in my studio, in my office, and everything else is all in this room. I've got this curtain behind me, and the reason for that is actually it's a really big mess on the other side. I don't want that to show up on the camera.
Nothing to do with soundproofing.
There's nothing to do with soundproofing at all. I have a little box here called a limiter gate compressor. It's a little thin box. It's about, I don't know, it's rack width, and what that does is it makes it so that you don't hear anything when I'm silent. You don't hear a thing.
No, nothing.
But if I turn that off, so there's the gates off, so you might hear a little bit
I still hear nothing.
Well, it's pretty quiet here today. Other than my beagle's trying to get in the door, I actually should probably go let him in. But
back door. If anybody sitting in on our Blab has questions, put them in the comments, and I'll give them to Mike. We're not going to take too much of your time because I'm going to be sucking a lot of your time here next month.
That's all right.
Yeah. So, somebody kind of threw a question out there. They don't know how to start or what kind of topic, which, in your experience, what are the best or most well-received types of podcasts? Like the next one I'm considering doing is really just going to be me. It's tentatively called, I can't even remember it now. It's tentatively called Makes Sense to Me, because there's just all these like random things that I come across. And, I want people, I ask questions. It drives my husband crazy because he's like, you're always questioning me. I'm like, it's not that I'm questioning you. I just, I have, I want to know. I'm a Sagittarius and I'm inquisitive. So, just the premise of, oh, okay, well, that makes sense to me, is kind of where it goes.
Sure.
Jim's saying that passion, and I have to agree. Can you script out the first 10 podcast titles for me? I don't know.
Well, the thing about it is you have to talk about something that you are generally interested in. An example I've heard lately is a new mother will do a podcast about dealing with babies. Well, 4 years down the road, she's not dealing with babies anymore. So is she going to stay interested in dealing with babies? No. So either the show has to evolve or you come up with something different, but you have to have something that you're
and that's a
actively
great point,
interested in.
because I have a running joke that I've been blogging for almost 12 years now. I've been blogging since before most moms had emails, much less mommy blogs. And about 3 years ago, my kids are in that teen and tween age, right? So I've got zero concern. The only thing I want to know about babies is how to keep them out of my house for the next 8 years. Seriously. I mean, when you're in the teen and tween years, it's totally different. And, so that's why I created the 10 to 20 website and subsequently the podcast, because, it's not, I'm not, belittling the baby stuff, because that's very important. But man, these teenagers are heavy people. I mean, geez. So you're right. Yeah. I mean, and that's where my passion is right now, as well as, just the blogging and podcasting. So, what about, so let's talk about the difference in one-person shows, just you, versus the interview type, which is what 10 to 20 is right now, is an interview type thing.
Yeah, adding interviews to a podcast or making that your format, I mean, that can work. On the technical side, you got to figure out how you're going to bring people in, and whether you're going to have them record on their end and then you mix it later, or you're going to do it with Skype or Blab or whatever.
I definitely do. I'm using Skype right now. I actually had to, by default, use Google Hangout earlier this week because we couldn't get Skype to work on her end. But how do you record two separate podcasts and bring them together?
Well, it's called a double ender. So what you would do is you would have Skype, say, running in your headphones with your iPhone. And that's how you would talk to the person you're talking to. But you would have them record high quality on their end. You record high quality on your end. So you would have a track with your voice in it. You'll have a track with their voice in it. And you sync them up in Audacity or Audition or whatever audio editing you're using. You sync them up, and then it sounds as if you're both in the same room. That's how NPR does a lot of that. Okay. Double enders. They'll actually send a recording team out. They'll talk to them on the phone, but they'll also have a high quality mic. And so it sounds like a conversation, but they do it, it's two different pieces of audio that they bring together. So, a lot of these interviews you hear on NPR are done that way, as what they call a double ender. And a lot of podcasts do it that way.
So it sounds almost like the other side of the equation would have to be a little bit more technical as well.
There's no way around the technical when you're doing interviews, unless you're doing in-person interviews. And then, you can do that with one mic and you just hand it back and forth, like one of these, and hey, what do you want to say? Like that, and that works out great if you're in person. But if you're doing it via the computer, worldwide, you've got to have a way to do it. And this new thing, Blab, new to me, works out pretty cool for interviews as well, because when we're done with this, you're going to get an email from Blab that's going to have the audio or the video,
right?
And you can do both, and so you could take that audio, take it into your editing software, clean it up on the ends, and do an intro, do an outro, and you could do your
there you go. I didn't even know that.
Well, there's a quick, easy way. This is new. This is, and you could do the same thing with Google Hangouts. You just have to strip the audio from
I learned that this week, which was kind of nice, because there have been a couple of interviews I've not lost, but they're for whatever reason they couldn't do Skype. I mean, I had one guy that I still want to get on the 10 to 20 podcast, but he's just like, it's just sketchy, and it just was one of those days. So it was good to be forced into doing it via Google Hangouts. So now that I've got that, but I really I wasn't aware that Blab could do that. Like I said, I've really just started playing around with it. And the last one I did was with Kim Williams, and he didn't show up. So that's my little dig at Kim Williams, who's also on the board of ConvergeSouth, and you will be meeting. So I'm excited that you're coming. And it's going to be a fun day. It's going to be it's lining up. I was telling everybody before you got on, those 3 labs, that's brand new this year. And it's kind of going back to the roots of ConvergeSouth of, when you leave here, you're going to have the ability to be able to do this, that, and the other. So.
Yeah, and like I said, what I'll do with mine is I'm going to have a checklist all printed out. So I'll have to figure out how many I need, and I'll bring them. But I'll have a little checklist. For as far as the recording, minimally you need this. If you want to go a little further, get this. And same thing with the software and setting up the website and the feed. Of course, I work for Blueberry, so I will suggest that, sure. But there's other ways of doing it, and I'm cool with that. And by the way, Eileen, yes, I'm not wearing a hat today, and I'm not wearing my headphones, so I have ears and hair. Usually I've got my big headset on like that, and a Tiger's hat. Probably.
We won't hold that against you.
Yeah, well, you don't have a baseball team down there, do you?
No. Charlotte's talking about getting one, but I just don't see it being well supported, to be quite honest with you. Everybody else will go to Atlanta. I don't know. Yeah, I'm a White Sox fan. Sorry.
There you go.
Exactly.
That's the other side of the lake from me. If you look at Chicago, they're down in the southwest corner of the lake, and I'm on the northwest corner of the same lake.
Let's take a few more minutes and then wrap it up so that we can get on with our day. But tell everybody, I always try and do this, but tell everybody all the places that you are, because I know you've got a couple of different. I think you might be as spread out as I am, which I wasn't aware is feasibly possible, but I think you've done it.
Yeah, well, I do a few jobs, and one of them is I'm the lead tech support for Raw Voice, Blueberry, the parent company of Blueberry, and I answer questions about podcasting and the service and other things like that for them.
I called you my knight in shining armor before you got on. My podcasting knight in shining armor.
Oh, okay. Well, hey, we got you going. That's good. And then let's see, I do my own podcast because I can't get enough of it, called Podcast Help Desk. So I do the same sort of thing on my podcast. I answer people's questions, generally talk about the podcasting business, sometimes interview people. In fact, I've got a couple interviews lined up for later today for my show with some podcast luminaries from other companies. So be interesting to see. So go ahead and subscribe over at podcasthelpdesk.com. And let's see, what else? I do another podcast that I'm reviving. I'm just going to restart that probably this weekend. It's Geek of the North. And that's an alternative tech. Everybody talks about phones and computers and that kind of gadgetry. I talk about tech, like I even had a story about the technology of garbage trucks. There's technology there. All this is technology. It's just not the phones or the computers or the software. No, I talked all about the tech of a garbage truck or the tech of aviation or broadcasting. I cover a lot of the tech subjects that aren't covered by the mainstream tech podcasts. So.
What was I going to ask you? Oh, you're a ham radio guy. My granddad was.
Yes.
I can still remember.
Oh, okay, very good.
Call sign. Kilo Alpha 4 Charlie Mike Quebec. How's that? Don't ask me how. Do not ask me how. This is one of those little random memory things that I just reside in my head for no reason.
Yeah, no, I got into it when I was in the Air Force out west in Idaho, and some reason got into the ham radio stuff, and then got into broadcasting, and then podcasting.
It's like
so, and you can even hear me on the radio periodically on a rock radio station around here in the morning show.
I used to get invited to one of the stations around here, but I haven't been invited lately. I'm gonna have to ask them what's up with that, because that's fun. I enjoy doing that.
Oh yeah, radio can be fun. And I do a folk and bluegrass show on yet another radio station.
Do you sleep? Oh, okay.
Oh yeah. Very well, thank you.
You're one of those, like us. It's like, okay, I've got, 6 hours. Let's go sleep and just keep, getting it on. Yeah, get busy.
Yeah, it just depends. Like today, I have a pretty rare day of not doing a whole lot. My wife runs some Subway stores here in the Traverse City area, so she's busy running between stores and all that today, and I had a day off.
All right,
from the day
let's
job.
wrap this up. Tell me the number one
Okay.
thing that people have the hardest time with when it comes to podcasting. Really?
The terminology. A lot, you wouldn't believe some of the questions I get. I get questions like, well, I uploaded my show to iTunes and the feed isn't updating.
I've asked that. Don't make fun of me.
What? Yeah. No, I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying that's one of the hard things. It's like, well, first off, you don't upload anything to iTunes.
Well, I knew that.
Second, iTunes isn't a feed. There's no such thing as an iTunes feed. There's a iTunes compatible feed that you give to iTunes. You don't upload anything to them. It's a lot of the terminology and then new people don't know how to ask the question. So you have to be good if you're doing the tech support for this. You have to be really good at figuring out what they really meant when they ask the question. And so far, knock on wood, I've been pretty okay at it. But sometimes I just have to ask, what do you mean? Send me a link, or something. And that's the biggest thing is just figuring out how everything fits together. A lot of people don't realize that there was podcasting before iTunes.
No.
iTunes is not podcasting. It's just a place that you can listen to podcasts and download them. But it's not podcasting. Podcasting is all generated via RSS and it's independent of any of the places you can get them. But iTunes is the 800-pound gorilla.
I'm looking forward to the day where our automobile stereos come equipped with being able to automatically play our podcasts. That'd be kind of cool.
And that's coming quicker than you think. With Apple's car product, I can't remember what they call that, and Android in the car, both of which are going to have, well, I should say one I know has a podcast app because that's Apple, and that's going to have the Podcasts app, the same one that you have on your iOS is going to be on your dashboard. And then the Android side, Blueberry's working on that side of things with Subscribe on Android is a site and a protocol that we came up with, and it's making it as easy for people to subscribe on an Android phone as it is on an iPhone. And hopefully that will filter into the car version of Android.
Okay, so one more question. I always have one more. Just there.
Oh, hey, no problem.
I think the other problem, and I use the word problem very loosely, you guys, challenge that a lot of podcasters, especially new podcasters, have is gaining a foothold, gaining traction, promoting their shows. I'm a social media director, and I sometimes struggle with, because just like everything else, there are so many out there. And quite honestly, iTunes does a horrible job at letting you be able to search.
Yeah, iTunes is probably the worst way to discover podcasts. And everybody's all worried about new and noteworthy on iTunes. When's the last time you found a podcast?
Should we let Jeff Adams in?
You can let whoever you want. It's your show.
Why not?
Podcasting.
I know.
Hey, looks like he's in the radio studio.
Chilling in the North Carolina beautiful weather on my lunch hour.
Jealous.
And I'm in a basement in an old log cabin in Michigan.
So just pretend that's not a tree behind me. It's a marquee like Jeff has.
I'm jealous. You're sitting outside North Carolina.
Hey, I got a dog that's trying to tear down the door.
Jeff,
I'll
I
be
haven't
right
met
back.
you. I'm Kristen.
Real quick.
I'm obviously Jeff. Nice to meet you.
I know. If I had a placard. Kristen Daukas.
Placard?
A placard. Kristen Daukas. So I was talking to Mike he's coming down to do a lab at this little conference that I work on called ConvergeSouth here in North Carolina. And I'm pretty excited. Lots of people want to get their own show and get going. And I figured he's got a dog. I've got a dog, but she'd be gone. She's got part husky. She'd be out the door and down the street before I could blink.
Listen, you were asking me if I would bring my banjo. Well, that dog is named Banjo.
Creative.
Anyway, sorry about the delay. He was trying to tear the door down.
So Jeff, tell us about yourself. You crashed our party, man.
I crashed it?
I let you in. You're right. I let you in.
Did any of you guys go to the podcast movement in Fort Worth?
I wanted to. I had a ticket. Deidre, James, and I were going to go, but it was so late notice.
Yeah, I went.
Yeah, I didn't go to that. I always go to the Las Vegas one.
NAB,
New Media Expo.
I still call it NAB, but
yeah, NAB too. You know, I work for Blueberry, and we had some people at. Todd.
I was on Todd's show a couple weeks ago. The New Media show. Yeah.
Oh, good. Yeah, same guy.
He finally got an award.
He's my boss
for all the years of podcasting.
Yeah. yeah. He owned the awards for 9 years, and then wasn't eligible because he owned them. So,
always a bridesmaid, never a bride.
But So he got inducted in the Podcast Hall of Fame. That's
awesome.
That's our CEO at Raw Voice, and he's definitely been around. He's been around a little bit longer than I have. I started in mid 2005, and Todd started late 2004. So he was among the first bunch of podcasts that I ever listened to. Was his Geek News Central? Was his
him and Rob.
podcast.
Rob's over at Spreaker.
Yep, Rob. I'm going to be interviewing Rob here in about an hour and a half.
Yeah, he signed that. Rob signed did you hear about the Adore network they're doing over there? Yeah, I'm one of the shows on the Adore network. They got picked up.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to ask him
what is
about
this?
that.
See, I'm a newbie.
I'm a newbie here too. I'm just trolling around trying to meet people on here. This is great. Everybody here has the same interest, so it's fantastic. It's like, a virtual bar. You can meet everybody that, is into what you're into,
Except right now, all I got is lemon water.
Yeah. I got iced tea. So, but that Adore Network is part of Spreaker, which is another podcasting company. Their specialty is being able to go live with your podcast. They've got, apps that you can when you're podcasting, you can set it up to where it's going out live on audio. And then they also do podcast hosting and other things. I'm going to ask Rob all about that. I've never actually used Spreaker other than I've got the app.
Yeah, it's I never really use the live. I used to use it, but when I do a show, I stream out to like 5 different video CDNs at the same time. And I have an online radio network that I stream to. So
okay.
Go ahead.
I was just going to ask, I'm a Budinsky, if you haven't figured that out. I really am. It's a bad trait of redheads. I want to ask a question, though, Mike, and I don't want to offend you or your company, but because I use Blueberry, full disclosure, is there what are the differences between the different hosting companies? And is there one that helps promote podcasts better than another one? For instance, I'm hearing a lot about SoundCloud. And is there a benefit, twofold question, is there a benefit to having your show on all of them? That can get expensive, though, because they all have, monthly rate.
Yeah, you really don't want your show hosted in several different places. Pick one and stick with that. But there's lots of places you can get your show listed. And it's always good to be as everywhere as you can. SoundCloud, if you're going to pick that as your primary podcast host, is probably not a good idea these days. They lost $29 million last year. and they're going through and booting off anything that has music on it that they don't know. What I mean is the copyright thing. So they're going through and kicking people off or kicking files off, and that's a bad mojo there. There's 3, maybe 4 podcast hosting companies that I would consider that are worthy of being on. Blueberry, of course, because I work for them. Libsyn, they've been around a little bit longer than Blueberry, and the difference between those two is kind of the philosophy of podcasting. They want to make it. Libsyn wants to make it easier for people to podcast, so they want it to be all in one thing, and they handle it all. With Blueberry, we want people to promote their own stuff. So we're constantly pushing people to, get your own WordPress site, install PowerPress. You own it. If we go out of business tomorrow,
and
all
that's
your
really
stuff's
important.
still going to work.
Let me tell you something. And Tommy's got a question too, because that's what I preach to my social media clients is that, Facebook could just wither up and go away tomorrow. And if all your content's on these social media sites, it's gone. That's the price you pay for free. So you have to own your content. And that's something a lot of people just don't have a grasp. Tommy wants to know what you think of Podomatic. Is that right? Did I say that right?
Podomatic. I'm not super familiar with them as a host. But the problem with them and several other services in my estimation is they want to own your feed. So if you're on Podomatic and you decide one day you want to move to Libsyn or Blueberry or some yet to be determined new place, you don't get to take your subscribers with you because they're not going to give you your feed. So you're not going to be able to redirect. So if you've given the Podomatic feed to iTunes and Stitcher and all these other places, Stitcher you can go in because you can manage that, but iTunes you can't manage that because you're not the owner of that feed. So they're not going to allow you to move. So you're kind of stuck with them. And there's several others that are like that. Nice thing about Libsyn in particular is if you've put all your eggs in that basket and you want to leave, they're more than happy to throw a redirect in there, and they're good people over there. Same with Blueberry. If you don't like us for some reason, want to move to Spreaker, we'll allow you to do that. No problem.
Because, like I said, owned content is the only way to go. I mean, you put all that time and effort into it, you don't want to lose it.
Yeah, so that's the biggest question I get. When it comes to people coming on from other services is, well, I'm on X service. How do I get my how do I keep my subscribers, if I change my RSS feed? Well, on some services, you just plain can't.
I'm adding to your list of things that I want you to cover at ConvergeSouth. I think I think a very good thing is, a checklist, and you don't have to cover it, but have it in your paper is, here's where you should, host it here and then promote it here, 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 and here. Because if you have
right. Oh yeah. I'll definitely have that because promotion is a good chunk of podcasting. I mean, if nobody hears about you, what good is it? And the beauty of podcasting is, I would say, in most niches, not all, but most niches in podcasting, you find everybody in your niche and make friends with them, and they'll cross promote you, and you'll cross promote them. And I mean, I get a lot of listener questions on my podcast help desk show. And one of the questions I have in my little form is, where did you hear about me? And I would say 50% of the time, it's one of the other podcast gurus out there that, like Dave Jackson or Daniel Lewis or Jim Colson and Collison. Geez, I can never get your name right, Jim. But, these people have promoted me, and I promote them all the time. If you listen to my show, you'll hear the name of at least one or two other shows about podcasting, because it's not a competition.
And you're building your tribe. In the world of blogging, it's your tribe is everywhere. Yeah. So building a good tribe. I belong to the She Podcasts group on Facebook, and they're, obviously all women who podcast, but it's a great group to be in.
Oh, yeah.
And she's actually here in North
friends with
Carolina.
Elsie.
I'm kind of trying to nudge her. Maybe she'll come down from Asheville. Up in the mountains, yeah.
Up in the mountains,
definitely
there,
banjo picking world.
Yeah. But yeah, she works for Libsyn, and like I said, she's their social media person at Libsyn. I think that's what her title is. I don't know. She hosts their official podcast called The Feed, and along with Rob Walsh, who's the VP of Podcaster Relations over there. And like I said, we all know each other from these conferences and all that. So it's not, we're business competitors, but
there is
we're
room
not
for
cutthroat
everyone
about it. Yeah, I mean, they've got a different philosophy. So, if you absolutely don't want to do anything technical, you go to Libsyn and they'll set you up. But your website's going to look not real well, not nice. And, but it's easy. With Blueberry, it's a touch harder, but once you get it set up, it's easier. It's just getting it set up is the hassle, and that's what I'm there for. So I kind of make it easy to set up.
Yes, and yes,
helping
you do. Very much so.
And so that's kind of the difference between those two. Spreaker, I've been friends with Rob forever and over there, and but never really used it. Like I said, I'm going to be interviewing him here in a little while, and maybe we'll go into how that would all work over there as far as the just hosting over there, because I have no idea.
All right, cool. I think I've eaten enough of your time, of your lunch hour, and I'm excited. I cannot wait to meet you in person. I'm a hugger, just so you know. I'm a hugger. I'm just giving.
Do what?
There's some people that are like, whoa.
Yeah. No. We'll get along just fine.
Oh, good. Well, awesome. Thanks so much, Mike. And again, if you're here in North Carolina and are interested in attending ConvergeSouth, send me an email and I'll be happy to give you a discount code and come and join us. And if not, just follow the stream. It was good to meet you, Jeff.
Yes. Thanks for having me pop on.
Hey, it's always an open door.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks, you guys. And thanks, everybody, for listening and attending. It was a lot of fun. All right. Out from North Carolina
have a great
on Labor
day.
Day Friday.